So the point in time count is a literal count of those who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness in our community across the nation on any given night. It's required by HUD, and it's supposed to take place on the last 10 days of January, at least once every 2 years. And so our team goes out. We're led by a wonderful group of outreach specialists who do this regularly, take out volunteers, and that's how we conduct our unsheltered portion of the pit count. So there is a sheltered portion of the pit count that our Homeless Management Information System, or HMIS, administrator, Carrie Bosch, she works with our shelter providers to get the data on those who were in shelter that night. And to be clear, this does not include individuals and families who are in transitional housing or who are in a hotel or motel that's being paid for by a program that would essentially be a transitional housing type of situation. Those who are counted in this pit count are those who are unsheltered and living in places that are not meant for human habitation. So when we think of that, we think of cars or tents, people who might be living in parking rides, any sort of abandoned buildings, under bridges. We understand that homelessness includes, people that are experiencing couch surfing or who might be doubled up. But for the purposes of the pit count, HUD is concerned with those who are living in places not meant for human habitation or those who are in shelter. For this year's pit count, we had around 30 people signed up, but the night of the count, we had 21 volunteers, and we were led by 8 outreach shelter specialists. All things considered, the weather was decent for Michigan wintertime. We have to remember that we may be able to pause the point in time count, to keep those who are outside safe. Once they're in their conditions, we don't want to bring them out. And even for our volunteers, but we always have to remember that there are still people that are living outdoors in these conditions, whether we are holding the pit count or not. Following steps from here, Carrie will continue. She will actually review the information that was collected in the unsheltered portion of the point in time count, those surveys and the observation forms. She'll really make sure that we're not counting people multiple times. And so that data will be collected. She'll be working with the shelter providers to collect that data. And the deadline by which that information has to be received is a date that's set by HUD. I'm not sure that we have that date yet. Once that date is set, we turn in that information, and then HUD reviews those, reviews the numbers, they review the data, and then at some point later in the year, we will have a report that we'll make available on our website so that community can see the results of that pit count. There's 3 main reasons why we do the point in time count. One, to comply with federal requirements, but it also helps us to gather information on those who don't traditionally interact with our homeless services systems. But then we use that data, or HUD uses that data, and it helps with our funds that are, allocated to our community. So overall, I would say that it does help with the federal dollars, although many of you who work in this space are aware that it's not enough. We definitely need to make sure we secure all of the federal and state resources that we can, but this just lets us know how much more we need any sort of philanthropic dollars or any sort of community dollars that we can to help fight against the homelessness that we're trying to combat.